I'll get right to it. I'm not going to talk about accolades and personal accomplishments. I know that to ask you guys two questions. Number one, how many of you have read Michelle Alexander's book? How many of you are afraid of snakes? So let me make a correlation for you. I not only read the book, but I lived it. Served 15 years in prison for robbery, aggravated assault, in Philadelphia from 1987 to 2002. I was released in July 2002. When I look around this room, I'm amazed at the energy, the amount of conviction, the support for this issue of mass incarceration, the impact it has on families and communities. However, there's always a but, right? The reason why it exists is, if you read Michelle Alexander's book, is because we live in a system that operates from a racist perspective. Right? Do you agree with that? You cannot have a population that comprises 10 to 12% of the overall population and represents 60% of the prison population. That either means one or two things. The system itself is racist and unjust, or black men are inherently criminals. I'll let you decide. John J. Collins, crime prevention, the Center for Crime Prevention, said in any given city, about 2% of the population is responsible for about 80% of the violent crime. So in Philadelphia, that equates to about 30,000 people being responsible for the violent crime in the city. And again, I ask you, are you afraid of snakes? There's about 3,000 species of snakes in this world, but only about 300 are poisonous. And I guarantee you, if a non-poisonous snake came into this room right now, everyone would run for cover. Black males have been demonized in this country and vilified to the point of being the new 20th century boogeyman. Everyone's afraid, and to feel safe, we have to incarcerate them. We have to separate ourselves from them. We have to lock them away. Because there's a panic that we will be snake bitten by the poisonous snakes in the grass. And I'm here to tell you that none of it makes sense to me. That black men in general, but black men specifically, are assets to our community. I can look around this room and name at least 10. Thank you for raising your hand. There's one of them. Raise your hand. There's another one. Rob, raise your hand. There's another one. Atiba, raise your hand. Right? There's my good friend Ozzy, raise your hand. You know, John Dye. These men are giving to their communities in profound ways. If I'm missing somebody, I apologize. These men are giving to their communities in profound ways. But if we believe the literature, if we believe the stereotypes, none of them have the opportunity to contribute in what they do in our society will be lesser. So I challenge you, and I challenge everyone in this room within earshot. And I hate preaching to a choir. And I understand that we're all here for the same purpose. But we have to take this message to a grand scale. We have to take this message somewhere that is going to resonate with impact. We can't continue to lobby around these issues in our silos. They cannot happen. I work, and Ron works with young men who, if we're going to give them a chance, they have to be able to define themselves as an asset, as someone who's worthy. They have to be able to build their self-esteem and believe that they have a place in this world and be able to expand their worldview to see that the world embraces them. And not see prison or the corner or a jail cell or a drug ring as their only option for a future. If we take that away, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we will continue to see every non-poisonous snake as a poisonous snake. Y'all get me?
Yeah.
Thank you.